The next three are the three KHUSF. The earth sinking down and swallows what it swallows. One in the east, one in the west, and one in Arabia. The geologist is the one who will have more facts at his fingertips to provide you with the information that we are living at a time of intense, they call it seismic activity. And there are many parts of the world which are in grave danger of massive earthquakes. Our subject is not so much the one in the east and the one in the west. Our subject is more concerned with the one in Arabia, the third one. Why? Because this will validate the claim of the Imam that he is indeed Imam al-Mahdi. That a Khalifa would die, and then there will be disagreement concerning succession. And Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is a very famous and well-respected organization, Hizb ut-Tahrir will have their roots in Palestine. Hizb ut-Tahrir holds the view that because the hadith uses the word Khalifa, it indicates that the Khilafah state will be returned, will be restored before the Imam comes. And my view is different. I say that when Allah's Messenger used the word Khalifa here, he's referring to any king. And in my opinion, it is a Saudi king. I gave this interpretation about 20-25 years ago. And I'm now surprised to see how widely it has been accepted. Perhaps when Salman dies, then Muhammad bin Salman will be crowned as king. And then the British expression is that all hell will break loose in the Saudi royal family, because he already faces stiff opposition, this reckless young man. So the Prophet is saying that a king would die, and then there will be disagreement concerning succession. We don't know how long that could last. It could last for a long time. But during that period of turmoil, of disagreement concerning succession, someone will come out of Medina and hurry to Mecca, and that is the Imam, Imam al-Mahdi. And the people will force him to accept the bay'ah, the oath of allegiance, at the Kaaba. As soon as he proclaims that he is himself the Mahdi, we have a problem. How will we know whether this is the real Mahdi or the Mossad and the CIA Mahdi? Because the Israeli Mossad and the CIA obviously will have a Mahdi in the waiting. Yes? So how will we know? I don't think the Shia will be able to recognize it. I think they'll be taken for a ride. But the rest of us have to tell our Shia brothers, be careful. This could be a CIA Mahdi. The proof that he is indeed the Mahdi is not some eclipse and sun. The proof that he is indeed a Mahdi is that an army will come to attack him from Sham. And as that army is coming down and passes Medina on the way to Mecca, the earth will open and swallow that army. That is the third of the three KHUSF. And so we say this is very important for us, because this will confirm and validate his claim that he is indeed the Mahdi. Then there is the sun, there is a fire which will come out of Yemen. And we have to decide, is this muhkama or mutashabiha? Is this a real fire, or is this to be interpreted? I am not persuaded that it's going to be a real fire. And I say, if we have to interpret it, then I'm talking about a revolutionary movement which will emerge out of Yemen. And when a revolutionary movement emerges out of Yemen, it will sweep everything before it, as it moves towards Mecca and Medina and Arafat. The Saudi decision to wage war on Yemen 5 years ago was not only a foolish decision, but a reckless decision. And they now realize 5 years later that they have not been able to defeat Yemen. And they are looking bad. And now they're looking for a way out. They're looking for a way out, how to get out. The United States can't help them. Britain can't help them. NATO can't help them. So who do they have to turn to help them now? Imran Khan can't help them. No. The only person who can help them now is Putin. He's the only one. Because if there is going to be an accommodation in Yemen that will allow the Saudis to withdraw without losing too much face, Iran has to agree. Iran has to agree. Then Iran can put pressure on Yemen. And that's what's happening now. Russia is now intervening to try to see what they can do to help the Saudis to get out of the hole in which they are. But what the Saudis have done for these last 5 years is, in my opinion, they've started the fire. They have started the fire. And you cannot extinguish this fire now until the fire comes out and drives them to their place of assembly. So I want to stop here now because Dajjal, Gog and Magog, and Nabi Isa alayhi salam are big subjects, very big subjects. And I have lectured extensively, I have written extensively on these, so you'll be familiar with them. Any questions?
I've got a question. You mentioned about the nuclear world war, and you mentioned about the earthquake as well, and the earth will open up and swallow the whole army. If you talk about a chronological manner about the two events, which is most likely to happen before of the two? Because if the
that is beyond me. That is beyond me, yeah. All that I can say is that the Great War is likely to occur soon. How soon, I don't know. I have had so many dreams about nuclear war in 2014 that I was expecting the nuclear war by 2016. Okay? But Allah, in His kindness, helped us. If Hillary Clinton had won the elections in December 16, I think we'd have had the war already. But Trump won the elections and he was not one of the boys. He was an outsider. And they can't trust him. They could trust Hillary, but they can't trust him. And since he became the president, they've been doing everything they could possibly do to remove him. No president of America has faced more efforts to remove him than Trump. And the greatest nightmare that they have is that he can be re-elected next year. And he will be re-elected next year if the Turkish invasion of Syria succeeds. There's a deal between Trump and Erdogan. Of course, they're working in tandem with each other. And Trump withdraws the American troops, abandons the Kurd, so that Turkey can move in. Okay? And if this succeeds, then Trump will be re-elected. Yes. Trump will be re-elected, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I wanted to ask two things, if you don't mind, Sheikh. The first one, I just wanted to just touch upon, we spoke about riba. Living in the Western world, living in the UK, with the cost of living, the house prices, and how much an average person earns, how do you avoid it?
I have stopped attempting to teach the subject of riba for individuals, the micro, because the sun is now setting. This is far less important than the macro. I devote my attention now how to get Pakistan, how to get Egypt out of the slavery. Okay? I have the opinion, a good opinion of the new Pakistani Prime Minister. I think he's much better than those who came before him, who were thieves. I don't think he's a thief. I had a good opinion of President Morsi. I think he's a sincere man, but he made mistakes. Oh yes, and Egyptians should not be annoyed with me when I point out the mistakes that he made. I still have a good opinion of him. Okay. The situation as now obtains is that most of the non-European world, Africa, Asia, Latin America, now have debts that they cannot possibly ever repay. And these are all debts with interest. You now have to borrow money to pay the interest. That's what Pakistan just did. And to get the money to pay the interest to the IMF, they had to fire the finance minister and replace him with an IMF man, and fire the governor of the National Bank, Central Bank, and replace him with an IMF man. So the first step that this new government of Pakistan has made to try to get out of the hole is to put the foot back into the hole deeper than it was before. So this is where I have to teach the subject of riba, not how to buy your house. That is not important to me anymore. This is more important. The Darul Uloom does not teach this subject. Al-Azhar doesn't teach this subject. Al-Azhar even gave the fatwa about 100 years ago that bank interest is not riba. That was Sheikh Muhammad Abdu. Bank interest is not riba. And all the ulama of Azhar have followed that since that day. Bank interest is not riba. What do we do? How do you deal with the situation? That's what we need Islamic scholarship for, on riba. The answer is that the moral law is the highest law. Yes. And the riba that we are paying now is oppression. This is permanent poverty. We can't get out of this. So, by arguing that the moral law is the highest law, we can decide we will no longer pay any interest. Stop. This is a unilateral decision. We're not negotiating with you. We're not paying any interest anymore. Then what about the capital sum that we borrowed? Allah says in the Quran about the moneylender, but if he gives up the riba, فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ You are entitled to the return of the principal sum. So we say to the West and to the IMF, yes, we will repay the capital sum which we borrowed, but human rights supersede economic rights. Our people need food. Our people need shelter, basic necessities. So we will repay the capital sum on the basis of our capacity to repay, whether you like it or you don't. because human rights come before economic rights. What will they do with us? The next morning, the Pakistani rupee will be like the Venezuelan bolivar. Next morning. This is the price we pay for being stupid. Yes. This is the price we pay for being stupid. I wish I could use a harsher language than that. For people who have brains and they don't use their brains. And they accept this bogus and fraudulent and haram money from Monkey Town. That's what they've given us. This bogus monetary system has ripped us off. What you have to do is return to the Quran. And the Quran tells us what is money. Yes. The Quran tells us that money is dinar and dirham. A gold coin and a silver. And when I teach that, what do? They close the door of the masjid on me. This man is dangerous. That's what they do. They close the door on the masjid on me when I teach them what they don't know. So Pakistan, before Pakistan makes any effort to get out of the hole, Pakistan and Egypt, I don't think Sisi will ever do it. Forget Sisi. But still, Imran Khan, you have a chance with him. You have to, first of all, make dinar and dirham legal tender. Meaning, they can be lawfully used as money. Legal tender. The rupee still remains. Then any Pakistani laborer is entitled now to ask for his salary to be paid in gold and silver coins. Yeah. Businessmen buying and selling, you can demand, pay me in dinar and dirham. So when you need dinar and dirham, the market will have to supply it. That's what you have businessmen for. You see how very quickly it will come in the market. Then when you have dinar and dirham as your backup, then you can say, we're not paying any more interest, and we'll repay the capital sum based on our capacity to repay. Then they will attack your rupee, but they can't attack the dinar and dirham. Okay? From the time one country escaped from the net, the rest of the world will seek to escape that way. And their game will be up. So they probably want to send in the military to take over Pakistan, rather than to allow Pakistan to escape. Any other questions? Yes?
Sheikh, regarding the original conversation you had about the juz system in the Quran,
Yeah.
you talked about obviously the modern Quran which we recite is, after a set, so for example, Surah Baqarah is broken up into three juz. Obviously there's Qurans that are many hundreds of years old. Is there any Quran there where the juz system is not present?
I have never come across in my lifetime any copy of the Quran in which you do not have this juz system, where the first juz ends at Al-Baqarah 141. If there are copies of the Quran which do not have the juz, they must be hundreds of years old and hardly being used there. They're probably museum pieces. But the Qurans which are being used every day by everybody have this juz system, and at the top of the page you see juz awwal, juz thani, juz thalith. We need to get a new copy of the Quran published with a different system of ajza. Yes, we need to do that. But first let me finish this book and publish it, Any other questions?
Sheikh, the beast of the earth. You mentioned the beast of the earth. It will, in some commentaries they say that it will talk to us.
Dabbatul ard taklimuhum and tukallimuhum, based upon the punctuation.
Is it possible, I was thinking, could it be the artificial intelligence robots that they're trying to take over?
The Dabbatul ard will have to attack the stuff and destroy this internal capacity, miraculous capacity of the stuff. That is where you have to direct your attention. Because Allah says, تَأْكُلُ مِنْ سَأَتَهُ. The dabbatul ard will consume. And when it is consumed, then the stuff collapses. And then the jinn will realize this is not Sulaiman. This is Dajjal sitting on the throne. And stop working for him. And goodbye Israel on that day. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I have my books at the back. We don't have many titles there. You can take a look if you want, and just bring them up to me and we can autograph them for you. Yes?
Sorry, apologies. I've just got a question. Talbot, you mentioned about that, the beast that will come. I was in Saudi last week and somebody mentioned about a hadith. Apologies, I didn't read the hadith. I didn't ask for the reference. Somebody mentioned that the beast will come out from the Mount Safa, and the beast will talk to the human beings that the doors to return to Allah they have closed. I was mistaken. My understanding was that is the Dabbatul Ard, but you mentioned the Dabbatul Ard is the one.
Proper methodology is never to go first to the hadith. Never. Go first to the Quran. That is showing respect for the Book of Allah. This is absolute truth. No one can change this. You can close your eyes, this is truth. This you can't say the same for it. Okay? The hadith and the Quran don't have the same status. Proper methodology is when you've gone to the Quran, then use the knowledge that you get from the Quran to judge the hadith. If you had done that, you'll never accept that Nabi Muhammad ﷺ would marry a child. Okay? When we go to the Quran, we get information about Dabbatul Ard. And when we go to the hadith on this subject, we get some very funny hadiths. You can immediately recognize this is nonsense. Yeah, the description of Dabbatul Ard, you'll find in some hadiths will make you laugh. Would make you laugh, yes. Yes. I hesitated to put it into my book. I used only one hadith, I put it in the book, and I said, look, I'm only putting it here in the book so you all can see what nonsense there is. Yeah. When you go to the Quran, then you get a solid knowledge of the subject. Okay, if we have no more questions, رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا يَا مَوْلَانَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ بِرَحْمَتِكَ يَا أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ آمين.